My wife secretly inherited $500, $0 from her late uncle and convinced me to buy a house with her, only to find out she's been hiding that she's in debt for over $200, $0 from her shady business deals. Now she's suing me for half the house, claiming I manipulated her into investing with her inheritance. Hello everyone. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Now let's begin the video. Using a throwaway for obvious reasons with certain specifics modified to preserve anonymity. I never thought I'd be the guy writing a story like this, but here we are. Honestly, I still can't believe how everything unraveled so fast. Just a few months ago, I thought I had the perfect marriage with Lisa. She's smart, pretty, and we seem to have a good life together, at least on the surface. We'd been married for about 5 years, and I always believed we were in it for the long haul. But then, out of nowhere, everything started to fall apart. It all began when Lisa inherited that money from her Uncle Jack, $500,000, she told me. It was a huge deal for her, and she kept talking about how she wanted to invest it wisely, maybe buy a house or start a business. I remember feeling proud that she trusted me enough to discuss such big plans. We looked at houses, made offers, and eventually bought a pretty nice place in the suburbs. I thought we were finally settling down, building something real. But then I started noticing little things. Lisa's phone started ringing at odd hours. She became strangely secretive about her messages, always making sure I didn't see her screen. She'd brush off my questions, saying she was talking to a client or a friend. Honestly, I thought maybe she was just stressed with the new house and the move. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but I felt a weird tension in the air. One night, I was cleaning up after dinner when I noticed her phone lying face down on the table, screen lit up with a message notification. I couldn't help myself. I picked it up and looked. The message was from someone named Chris, and it was flirty, casual, but definitely more than just friendly. My stomach clenched. I didn't want to believe it at first. I told myself maybe it was just a coworker or a friend, but the tone was too intimate, too personal. That wasn't the only thing. I also caught her in a lie about her whereabouts. She said she was at a business meeting, but I saw her leaving a hotel late at night with a guy I didn't recognize. When I confronted her, Lisa got defensive, bitchy, even. She told me I was paranoid, that I was always suspicious of her. She insisted she was faithful, that I was just insecure because I was stressed about the new house and her inheritance. But I knew better. Something wasn't adding up. She was hiding something, and I could feel it deep down. Then, I found out about the debts she'd accumulated, over $200, $0 from shady business deals she'd been involved in. She'd been lying about her financial situation all along. She convinced me to buy that house with her inheritance, told me it was a fresh start, but behind the scenes, she was drowning in debt and lying about it. It hit me like a punch in the gut when I realized she'd been manipulating me from the start. She played me for a fool, hiding her secrets, her affairs, her debts, all while pretending to be the perfect wife. I felt betrayed, angry, and stupid for trusting her. And the worst part, she's now suing me for half the house, claiming I manipulated her into investing her inheritance. That's when I knew I had to do something. I couldn't let her get away with this. I had to find out what was really going on, and I had to make her pay for what she did. After I found out about her affair and the debts she'd hidden from me, my mind was racing. It was like everything I believed about our marriage was a lie. I couldn't sleep, kept replaying every conversation, every moment I missed or brushed off. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. How could she do this? How could she lie to me about her inheritance, about her debts, and then turn around and accuse me of manipulating her? It was so clear she'd been planning her moves all along. I decided I had to confront her again, but this time with facts. I sat her down in the living room, trying to keep my voice steady, though inside I was boiling. Lisa, I know about Chris. I saw the messages. I know about the hotel. Tell me what the hell is going on. Her face twisted, that bitchy smirk she always wore when she thought she was in control. She tried to deny everything, but I pulled out her phone and showed her the messages I'd saved. Her eyes widened, and for a second I thought she'd crack. She started lying, of course, saying it was all a mistake, just some stupid flirt, that Chris was just a friend and she was only with him that night because she was stressed out. Then she threw in the classic, "You're just paranoid and I've been faithful." But her voice was shaky and she kept glancing at her phone like she was trying to delete something. I didn't buy it. I knew she was hiding even more. The real shocker came when I pressed her about the debts. She admitted she'd borrowed money from shady people, using her inheritance as collateral, and now she was in over her head. That's when I realized she'd been lying about everything: her finances, her fidelity, her intentions. She convinced me to buy a house with her inheritance, making me think we were starting fresh, but instead she was drowning in debt and sneaking around behind my back. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. How could I trust her? How could I stay married to someone who lied so blatantly? I was furious but also deeply hurt. I had given her my trust, my love, my life, and she'd used it to her advantage. I thought about all the nights I stayed up worried about bills, about her secret meetings, about her lying to my face. It was like a betrayal on all fronts. The next day, I started digging into her financial records, trying to understand just how deep she was in trouble. Turns out, she'd been secretly borrowing money from people I'd never even heard of, shady businessmen, loan sharks. I was stunned. The house we bought was technically in both our names, but she was scheming to claim half of it, claiming I manipulated her into investing her inheritance. I knew I had to act fast. I couldn't let her keep pulling the wool over my eyes. I also realized she was planning to sue me. She'd lawyered up and was claiming I forced her into the investment, that I was using her inheritance to get control of the house. That was her game. She'd been scheming to turn the tables, make me look like the villain. I felt a mix of rage and helplessness. How did I get here? How did I miss all the signs? I thought I knew her, but I'd been blind. I spent the next few days gathering evidence: text messages, bank statements, witnesses who knew about her shady deals, and I started to build my case. I knew I had to fight back, not just to protect myself, but to make her pay for the lies she'd spun. I wasn't going to let her walk all over me, especially not after everything she'd done. This wasn't just about the house anymore. It was about justice, about exposing her manipulation. And honestly, I was furious. Furious at her for cheating, for lying, for using me, and for trying to turn my world upside down. I felt betrayed in ways I never thought possible. I had given her everything: my trust, my love, my future, and she'd been secretly plotting her escape, her scams, her affairs. I knew I couldn't fix this, but I could sure as hell make her regret it. Once I had all the evidence laid out, her shady loans, the secret messages, her lies about the debts, I knew I had to take action. I wasn't just going to sit around and let her spin her web of lies. The more I uncovered, the angrier I got. I started thinking about how to turn this around, how to make her pay for all the deception and betrayal. First thing I did was meet with a lawyer. I needed someone who could help me understand my rights, especially since she was planning to sue me for half the house. The lawyer listened carefully, looked over my evidence, and said I had a pretty solid case to prove she'd been hiding her debts and manipulating me into the investment. She also warned me that Lisa might try to claim I coerced her, so I had to be prepared for a fight. Meanwhile, Lisa kept up her act, acting like the perfect wife in public, but behind closed doors she was frantic. She'd call me, try to guilt-trip me, saying I was ruining everything, that I was paranoid, that I was trying to control her. She even accused me of cheating, which was laughable considering her own affairs. But I knew better than to buy into her lies. I kept my distance, gathering more evidence and preparing for the inevitable confrontation. One night she came home late again, smelling of perfume I didn't recognize. I'd already caught her in her lies about where she'd been, but that night she was more aggressive, more defensive. I pressed her again, asking her directly if she was seeing someone else. She snapped back, calling me insecure, saying I was paranoid because I was jealous of her success. That was the moment I realized this wasn't just about money or lies. She was actively hiding a whole other world from me. That's when I decided I had to do something drastic. I couldn't just wait around for her to keep lying and scheming. I contacted the people she owed money to, shady businessmen, loan sharks, and I told them I was willing to pay off her debts if they agreed to leave her alone. I wanted to cut her off from her shady connections, force her to face her own mess. Surprisingly, some of them agreed, probably because they saw I was serious. It was a small victory, but it felt good knowing I was taking control. I also found out she'd been sneaking around with Chris, the guy she'd been messaging. I tracked down his number, and when I called, he admitted they'd been seeing each other for months, secret weekends, late-night calls, everything. That was the final nail in the coffin. I felt sick, realizing she'd been lying to me about everything, her fidelity, her finances, her entire life. I knew I had to confront her one last time. I arranged to meet her in the house where it all started falling apart. When she arrived, she tried to play innocent, acting like she didn't know what I was talking about. But I was done pretending. I threw everything at her, her lies, her debts, her affair. Her face turned red and she started screaming, calling me jealous, manipulative, controlling. But I wasn't listening anymore. I was just done. That night, I told her to pack her things and leave. I couldn't be with someone who betrayed me so completely. I filed for divorce and started the process of reclaiming my life. I knew it wouldn't be easy, especially with her trying to claim half the house, but I was determined to fight for what was rightfully mine. I'd been played for a fool long enough, and now it was time to take back control. Looking back, I realize I was naive to trust her so blindly, but I also learned a lot about myself. Trust is fragile and betrayal cuts deep. I don't know what the future holds, but I know I won't let anyone manipulate me like that again. If anything, this whole nightmare has shown me how important it is to pay attention, to ask questions, and to never ignore the red flags. Because in the end, the truth always comes out, sometimes in the most brutal way. The aftermath of everything was a whirlwind. I went from feeling like I had the perfect life to realizing I'd been living in a house of cards. The divorce was messy, of course. Lisa fought me tooth and nail, trying to claim that I'd manipulated her into investing her inheritance, that I'd coerced her into buying the house, and that I'd been secretly controlling her finances all along. She hired a lawyer who was good at spinning stories, twisting facts, and playing the victim. I knew I had to be just as aggressive if I wanted to come out of this with what was fair. The court hearings were intense. Lisa's accusations flew fast and furious. She painted herself as the wronged wife, the victim of my supposed manipulation, even though I had all the evidence proving she'd lied and deceived me from the start. Her lawyer argued that I'd pressured her into the house, into the investment, into everything. But I had bank statements, text messages, witnesses, proof that I was the one trying to fix the mess she'd created. Meanwhile, I was emotionally drained. I'd gone through the stages: shock, anger, betrayal. But I also felt a strange sense of clarity. I'd always been a guy who believed in honesty, hard work, and loyalty. Finding out my wife had been cheating, lying about her debts, and scheming behind my back shattered that picture. It made me question everything about trust, about my judgment, about what I thought I knew. I kept replaying the moments I missed, the signs I ignored, wondering how I'd let her manipulate me for so long. The judge eventually ruled in my favor on most points. The house was awarded to me, and Lisa was ordered to pay back the debts she'd hidden, though I knew she wouldn't. She had already spent the inheritance, and her debts were a mess. I also got some compensation for the emotional distress, though it didn't come close to what I felt inside. But the real shock came after the court. Lisa didn't just disappear. She started spreading rumors, trying to turn friends and family against me. She claimed I was abusive, that I'd manipulated her into signing papers, that I'd been controlling her money all along. It was classic gaslighting. But I had proof: her texts, her debt records, her own admissions. I made them public, showing everyone the truth. That felt good. Finally, people saw who she really was. The house, my house now, felt like a symbol of everything I'd lost, but also everything I was fighting for. I moved out into a small apartment nearby. It wasn't what I wanted, but it was better than living under the same roof as someone who had betrayed me so thoroughly. I started focusing on my career again, rebuilding my life step by step. It was hard, no doubt about it. Trusting people again seemed impossible, and I had this gnawing feeling that I'd never quite recover from the betrayal. But I also learned something crucial. I could survive this. I could pick up the pieces and move forward. I realized that I'd been too trusting, too eager to see the good in someone, and that sometimes people hide their true selves until it's too late. I've become more cautious, more guarded, but also more aware. I don't take things at face value anymore, especially not when it comes to money or relationships. Looking back, I wish I'd seen the signs earlier. I wish I'd questioned her more, pushed harder when things didn't add up. But I also know I can't change the past. I can only learn from it. And I know one thing for sure. I'll never let someone manipulate me like that again. I'll be smarter, tougher, and more aware of what real trust looks like. Because in the end, betrayal teaches you some harsh lessons. Lessons I never wanted to learn, but ones I won't forget. After everything, I thought I'd get some peace. I thought I'd finally be able to breathe without constantly looking over my shoulder, wondering what other lies she was hiding behind her pretty smile. But the truth is, even now, months later, I still wake up sometimes with that sick feeling in my stomach, remembering how completely she betrayed me. It's like a scar that won't fully heal. And honestly, I don't think I'll ever fully trust again. Not in her, not in anyone. What's been the hardest part is realizing how much I was blindsided. I kept telling myself I knew her, that we had a good marriage, but underneath it all, she was playing a different game. She lied about her money, about her fidelity, about her future. And I was just a pawn in her scheme. That realization hits me hard sometimes, how she used my trust as a weapon against me. I think about all the nights I stayed up, trying to fix things, trying to understand her, when she was just planning her next move. The financial mess she left behind is staggering. She's still trying to dodge her debts, hiding assets, and even trying to sue me for half the house, claiming I manipulated her. I finally got a restraining order against her so she can't come near me or the house anymore. That felt like a huge win, but it also made me realize how much control she still thinks she has. I had to remind myself I was the one who'd been betrayed, not the other way around. I started seeing a therapist, not just to cope but to understand how I got here. It's been a long process, trying to rebuild my confidence, my sense of self. I've come to accept that I was naive, that I trusted too easily, but I also learned to be more cautious. I don't let my guard down like I used to. I ask questions now, dig deeper, and listen to that little voice inside that warns me when something's off. One thing that's been a comfort is reconnecting with my family and friends. They've been incredible, supporting me through all this mess. I've learned who I can really count on and who's just there for the good times. It's made me realize that I need to be careful about who I trust, but also that I shouldn't shut myself off completely. Not everyone is like Lisa. As for the house, I've decided to keep it. It's a reminder of how badly I was played, but also a symbol of my resilience. I put it on the market and I'm planning to sell and start fresh somewhere new. I need a clean break, a new place, a new beginning. I don't want to carry the weight of her lies with me anymore. Looking back, I know I'll carry this experience with me forever. It's changed how I see relationships, how I see money, how I see trust. I don't regret loving her, but I do regret not seeing the signs sooner. If I could give any advice to someone in my shoes, it's this: pay attention, ask questions, and don't ignore your gut. People can hide a lot behind a pretty face or a convincing smile. Trust is earned, not given blindly. Most importantly, I've learned that even in the face of betrayal, you can survive. You can pick yourself up, rebuild, and come out stronger. I'm not there yet, but I'm getting there. And someday, I hope I find someone who's worthy of my trust, someone who won't use me or lie to me. Until then, I'll keep moving forward, learning from the pain and trying to be better. That's all I can do. Now, sitting here reflecting on everything, I realize how much this whole nightmare has changed me. I used to think I knew what trust was, believing in honesty, loyalty, and that people had your back. But now, I see how easily it can all be shattered when someone you love turns out to be someone you don't even recognize. It's like I built my life on a house of cards, and one push was enough to bring it all down. Still, I'm learning to rebuild piece by piece. One thing I've come to understand is that betrayal isn't just about the money or the lies, it's about the loss of faith. I trusted Lisa with everything and she threw it all away. But I've also learned that I can't control her choices, only my reactions. I can't change what she did, but I can control how I respond to it. That's what's kept me going, knowing I have the power to choose my future, even if my past is stained. The experience has made me more cautious, yes, but it's also made me stronger. I no longer take people at face value. I pay attention to the little signs, the inconsistencies, the things that don't add up. I've learned that money can be a trap if you're not careful. People will lie, cheat, and manipulate just to get what they want. I wish I'd realized that sooner, but better late than never. I've also realized how important it is to set boundaries. I won't let anyone use my trust as a weapon again. I've become more assertive about my needs and more guarded about what I share. That doesn't mean I've shut myself off completely. I still believe in love and connection, but I understand that trust has to be earned, not given freely. As I look forward, I know I want a different life. A life where honesty and respect are the foundation, not just words. I want to rebuild my financial stability, pay off the debts she left me, and find peace. I've started working on myself, going back to school and focusing on my career. I want to prove that I can be better, stronger, smarter, that I can survive this and come out on the other side. And maybe, someday, I'll find someone who truly values me, someone who's honest, loyal, and ready to build something real. But for now, I'll focus on healing, learning, and moving forward. Because if there's one thing this whole ordeal has taught me, it's that even in the darkest moments, there's a chance to find the light again. You just have to be willing to fight for it.